YOLO Composing Gloves here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Stereo Room 2016. And I already did a video about this, but I wanted to show it in various tracks because I want to give some more in-depth, show you more examples, see how it's really used. Someone mentioned some free alternatives, and free alternatives are really great. I'll probably even do a video about the one you mentioned because I think more people should know about free stuff. But I'm just going to be focusing on this right now because that's what this video is about. So you could definitely get comparable results with other plugins. I really like this one. It's got a really nice sound to it. One that's unique among Reverb plugins that I've used, especially when it comes to ease of use. So I have here 3 example tracks, and let me play you them. I guess they're not really tracks, they're just little loops. The first one's an electro swing style loop. So that's our first loop. Our second loop is a piano solo, very soft. This thing would love some Reverb. Yes, very fun, emotional. It's got a minor second in there. Go figure. And we also have here a vibraphone kind of deal. It sounds like this. So my goal was to just create 3 stylistically different little loops that we could use Reverb on and see it in its various forms. I already have, in the previous video, we talked about all the knobs and stuff, so we're not going to bother diving into all like those kinds of things. We're going to be just focused on the music. So let's go first to the electro swing style deal. Now it's a very simple arrangement. It's got a piano. It's got 2 pianos. Oh no, it should only have 1 piano. Yeah, it's got 1 piano, a string, and an organ thing, a built-in harmonic. So I'm just going to refer to that as the organ. But when you see me go to the harmonic channel, it's pretty much the organ. So it sounds like this. And it's got a Reverb on it right now. Now these Reverbs are very subtle. For the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to be a little more extreme because I want you to be able to really hear it. These are going to, I'm using these right now to simply take the edge off the front of the sound, which is something that I've said a couple times in the last video. It's something I really like this particular plugin for. I think it's really good at doing that without making it sound muddy, being able to move things back and forth in a mix. And I've also got accompanying this a piano. It's the Gentleman by NI. It's great for this style. And then I also have, of course, the organ and then some drums. So the drums are like, nothing super special. They're just whatever. So we're going to be messing with the organ thing because there's some cool things we could do with it. Now on this current preset, it's all right, but let's go ahead and go over to like something like Behind the Hall and check out what it sounds like. So I want this like whoosh sound to come forward and backwards. There's a couple presets that are really good at this. We could set our own settings, but honestly, just starting from a preset is sort of the way to go. They also they have several of them are just really good. So let's go ahead and move them. Let's move it to the front. So that's dry. And we could mess with the mix, or we could mess with the position, which is also a very interesting knob. So what I think we should do is we should mess with them both. So I'm going to go to Browse Parameters and move this to figure out where it's at. Automate that. And I'm going to Browse Parameters, move this one. Okay, so we got our 2 deals here. And I think we should start off dry and then sort of do this up-down thing. So this is the dry-wet mix. I mean, we're going to start off close, so our position will be at the front, and then we'll go to the rear and back. This might be a little extreme to go, all the way. So let's maybe do this. You could set the maximum to be that, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get like a little different the second time, so it's maintain some, just small nuances. And we'll start off, and we'll stay somewhat like this. This knob actually might not make that much sense to mess with, because we're going to be moving the position around, which will do something similar. We'll mess with this if we need to, but for now, I don't think we need to. Extra thing if we need it. So I'm thinking we should probably have this come down and maybe swell up a little slower, so it releases. Yeah, I like the idea of something like this more than that. If you want a tighter exponential curve, you can just bring in a point closer. And I've got this on slide. I don't want it on slide. Maybe be a little more extreme here and do something like that. So with that, let's add that in. And this is cool because now our piano will shine forward and it sounds like we have this pulsating thing. This is a bit much hearing it in the mix, so maybe we'll bring it back. And man, we could even do something right there. Oh, this could be cool. And there you have it, sort of an unconventional use for it. What I'm thinking now is I should change like the notes here, so I get like a wum, 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 you know, something like that. So it's like a little progression that's built on these in particular. But that's an idea we have there. Now let's go ahead and let's mess with the piano. So I'm going to leave that pretty much where it is. And let's just try moving the piano forwards and backwards in the mix. So I'm going to turn the mix up. Well, maybe not. Let's see what we can get out of it with the low level right now, because I just want it to step back a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the position knob. This isn't super crystal clear, so let's listen to it in isolation first. Part of it has to do with the preset I've chosen and the current settings that it's on, like a decay, the pre-delay, all this stuff. So let's go ahead and move over to the default patch, actually. Just go all the way. There we go. So we're going to utilize that sort of a deal. So let's go ahead and turn everything else back on. And everything else is kind of loud in comparison. So I'm going to do what you probably shouldn't do and just boost this for now. Because I don't want to take the time to bring everything else down and like properly balance it at this moment. Yeah, so we could automate this one too. Try moving the position around and maybe even the mix and have it get like unclear here. And we could toss some other like little like percussive element in the middle and then have it become clear again right here. And so we'd have this like in and then a wash and then back in. So we start out dry here. Things are like dun, 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 wah, dun, 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 something like that, you know? So I think that's a pretty good just showing of what we could do with this and some interesting options. We of course could just leave it be a static thing and probably be a little less severe with it. And let's just turn it off, hear what it sounds like without it. So it just takes the little front off of it. So it just moves it back a smidge. Doesn't really affect its presence, which is something that I like about that. So let's go ahead and move over to example 2. All right, so this one is a piano solo. And let's turn the Reverb off and just give you a listen, because you already heard it before. So this one is Native Instruments, the Giant. It's great for these kinds of effects. I'm going to remove the verb, and then I'm going to turn it on, and you can see I've got a hefty amount of verb. We're at 96%. And let's just go ahead and play it. So this is no verb. So now let's go ahead and turn some verb on. And these are the particular settings. I did turn this up, by the way, because it's pretty soft, so I want you to be able to hear it. So one of the things that I really like about this is I have the mix at 96%, and it still sounds like clear. You could still tell what it is. And this is one of those things that a lot of verbs would actually work really well on this. There's a lot of things you could do with this. I really enjoyed this effect. I think it's like subtle, but it's not subtle. Obviously, there's a huge difference between the two, but you don't notice it as a distraction. It's an enhancing effect. It's something that like, oh, this makes sense that it sounds like this instead of like oh, there's definitely a verb on this kind of deal. It's not like a distraction in any way. And part of that is thanks to the position knob. So I'm going to go ahead and do some A, Bs, just turning this on and off. You'll hear the difference. And then we'll mess around with the position knob and then move on to the third example. So you can hear it pretty clearly. Actually, something that'd be a little nicer than these sort of clicks on and off is let's mess around with the mix knob. Probably get some really cool transitions. Let's mess around with position now. So that could be a cool way to end. You could use this to a musical effect, you know, hook it up to a knob while you're playing or maybe like a foot pedal. And this could be something that is just really intuitive and nice to have at certain moments. So I think that's enough of this, but you get the idea. Of course, there's other settings here. This is something that with Verb, it comes across very transparently, whatever your Verb is doing. So always a good sort of thing to use as an example. But as far as like the sounds you may be aiming for, these would be the ones I'd be looking at. I just realized, I don't know if it did this before. When it autosaves, it totally blinks for you now. I don't know if it did that before again, but it's like, that's mind blowing to me. So anyways, yeah, that was the Giant. And if you're curious about what that string sound was, I can't remember if I said it. That's Aeon in the Giant. So this one's like by Heaviosity. So let's go ahead and go to example 3. So example 3 has a vibraphone, courtesy of the symphonic series, and just some chords with a piano. I can't remember if I used the Giant again for this one. And so let's go ahead and because I've altered the Giant, we're going to have a different sound here than I had before. Oh, part of it's just because I boosted the crap out of it for the last example. So I used some post gain and crap. But anyways, let's turn that all off. There we go. All right, so we have a vibraphone, and I guess let me play the loop for you without stopping it. It's just that simple little loop thing. So on the Vibe, we also have a stereo room. I thought it'd be cool to use a Vibe because it's got those high frequencies. Those tend to ring out a little longer and sound nice. And so what we have here is, let's turn it off. So it sticks out of our texture a bit. Toss it on, and this is on the string chamber preset. I decided I liked this particular one. And again, we have the notion that it's still very clear, even though it's now gained space, it moved around in the mix some. I think it fits a lot better. Before it, stuck out as this weird sort of dry sound, which some people might actually like. I personally like it more like this. And if you listen, let's solo it. When we have that run, that little run, ba-na-na-na-na, you hear the notes like ring over, and that's just nice. But it's not like a super long ring, even though our decay time's up and our positions, more to the rear. So yeah, really nice without it. So let's do a comparison between the stock Verb inside of Kontakt and this Verb. I found that I really liked this Verb a lot more than the stock Verb for some scenarios. Of course, the Kontakt has all kinds of verbs, and some of them sound really good. So it's just in this particular scenario, I found that I liked using this more over using this. So let's do a comparison. This time, listen for the stereo room, and then we'll turn it off and we'll listen to Kontakt. And some of them some of them are like just add way too much tail, or they sound bright, or they like push the sound forward in a weird way. And then other ones sound, nice if you dial it in correctly, but there's not exactly very many controls for you to mess with besides size being the only one. So having a position knob, pre-delay, and ability to control decay directly as opposed to having it all sort of in one size knob is pretty nice. So let's go ahead and listen. So now let's turn on the Kontakt one. Check it out. So if we turn off the reverb just straight up, here's what it sounds like dry. So if we turn this one back on, you can hear it. It definitely adds some stuff, but it keeps it at the front, which is something, it didn't smooth it over. And this is what a lot of verbs do. They don't smooth things over because they're just trying to add space. And so that has to do with how they treated their diffusion, and if they had modulation in their algorithm, and how they had it in their algorithm, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't particularly, I don't vibe with this for this particular case. Maybe I would in some cases where I want some more forward action. This is why I grabbed this one, the 2016. It subdued it, but no notes are like weirdly changed. Like, listen to the consistency of note as we go through. So if we turn this off and turn this on, some notes are just affected differently. Oh, I have them both on, so let me turn that one off. So for this particular case, I'm not vibing this, but maybe we could choose a different room. There's other rooms in here. Some of them have, like, if we go to like the small room, or what is this, chamber? No, I don't want chamber. Let's go to this one. Room small, because we're speaking backwards today. And it sounds like this. Now, this is a tone that I could really enjoy out of a vibraphone. Maybe I turn it down and mix it a bit different. But there's not a whole lot of difference between dry, too. So you can see, like, I don't know, but over here, maybe I'm playing this a little too much, but, oh, let's turn it on, though. Yeah, I was like, that didn't sound different at all. So, you know, it's up to you. You could sort of check this out. I think the Stereo Room 2016 wins in this case by quite a bit. But you could totally, like, you know, mess with this, get a good sound out of it. And if you mix your track appropriately, it's still going to sound stupendous. It just depends on what tools you're working with and what kind of vibe you're going for. So that's that. That's pretty much the examples that I wanted to play for you. Hopefully you got some cool ideas out of this. I don't plan on really revisiting this unless someone has like some specific thing that I think is worth doing another video on. Subscribe and have a blessed day.